We humans are an odd bunch for a lot of reasons, but the weirdest might be our fascination with horror. Why are we so inclined to seek out and engage in experiences that are designed to provoke negative emotions that render us irrationally paranoid to obey safe surroundings, make our bodies shake, sweat, and at worst results in mental traumas and horrifying nightmares? To investigate this strange phenomenon, I contacted the world-leading horror researchers Mathias Claesen and Thomas Terkelsen from Aarhus University's Recreational Fear Lab to learn what recreational fear is all about.
Recreational fear is a label to denote those kinds of activities in which people derive pleasure from being scared, including horror entertainment. So entertainment that is designed to elicit so-called negative emotions in the audience. One thing that characterizes recreational fear is that it's a pervasive, widespread phenomenon, but one that is also scientifically understudied. There are many things we don't know about this phenomenon, for example, about its psychological and social effects.
According to Mathias and Thomas, the goal of recreational fear is ultimately why we voluntarily spend time and money to get scared. What happens in our body when this happens, and how can this knowledge be used to counteract the effects of anxiety? To obtain this knowledge, we need to look at fear and recreational fear to entirely different research fields.
There's been a lot of research done on fear. It's one of the most researched emotions in terms of both in psychology, in experiential psychology, but it's different with recreational fear because it has this element of enjoyment acting at the same time, or like it's multiple systems.
These systems refer to the evolved fear system, which elicit negative emotion to make us react with fear towards primal dangers like predators and heights, and the fear modulation module, which lets us override the fear system to engage with predators and participate in dangerous activities. However, this system cannot differentiate between mediated content and real-life dangers, which horror movies and games exploit by engaging us in fictional fight-or-flight scenarios that provoke powerful negative emotions and heightens our arousal.
So I think horror video games is going to be very central to the field of recreational fear. It's not possible to do the foundational research in the same setting, running around in a haunted house, for instance. You need to have the controlled nature of a lab environment. I think that's where video games is really potent. So I think video games is going to be very central to the field of recreational fear going forward.
To determine the emotional effects of horror, physiological sensing devices are used to provide biofeedback regarding changes in heart rate, sweat production, pulse, brain activity, and more. Biofeedback is also used in affective gaming to individually tailor the experience, such as increasing difficulty via environmental changes. Seeking to combine the two fields, I discovered that no research had been performed on breath-based biofeedback in horror games, which aligned perfectly with a sound-based horror game I was playing at the time called Made of Stir. Here, a button-held breathing mechanic is essential to avoid detection by the blinded enemies, and so I came up with this research question. How is the player experience in the survival horror game Made of Stir affected by replacing the button-held breathing mechanic used to avoid enemies with real-life breath holding? From this, a between-subjects experiment with 20 participants was conducted in collaboration with Thomas in their lab, using a pragmatic deductive approach. Participants would play through a linear stage in the game while wearing a GSR sensor detecting differences in sweat production to determine arousal, and a respiration belt calibrated using a custom script to detect when they're holding their breath. Half the participants would hold their breath in-game by holding a keyboard button, whereas the others would physically hold their breath to do so. While this study showed that it is feasible to implement breath-based biofeedback in affective horror games, no significant difference was found between conditions regarding either enjoyment, fear, or presence, indicating that the integrated biofeedback did not improve or worsen the experience. And in regard to my collaboration with the Recreational Fear Lab,
for us it's been incredibly helpful, and it has shaped our the research we're planning to do next year as well, because we do plan to do a repeated measures design of this study, or within subject design of this similar study. It's a great opportunity for a lab like ours that someone like you, Mikkel, can come in and volunteer your expertise and your time and energy towards understanding, help us understand part of this field. And so there's a lot of great things to be said about having these kind of master thesis projects being situated within real labs. We definitely benefit from it, and it's been wonderful to have you in the lab, and I hope we get to do more together in the future. It's been meaningful research for us and for the Apex of Fear project, so we are happy that we had this collaboration.